What's your idea? If you're ready to change your life and start making your passion work for you, listen up. The Working Woman Report is here to help, and it starts right now. Hello, and welcome to our Working Woman Report on the Road series. We are broadcasting live from Schenectady, New York today, a city rich in innovation. It was actually right here in Schenectady where Thomas Edison founded what would become the General Electric Company, and where George Westinghouse invented the rotary engine and air brakes. Once known as the city that lights and hauls the world, Schenectady today is poised for a new generation of growth and opportunity. Opportunity and growth that is being deeply influenced by the contributions of women. Today, I am so pleased to be joined by three of the leading business women in the capital region to discuss the resurging business opportunities in the area and what it takes to succeed as a female business owner. Now, while Thomas Edison may have founded GE, it is Colleen Costello who is bringing new things to light as the CEO and co-founder of Troy-based Vital VO, a revolutionary company changing the lighting industry through a product that disinfects surfaces while lighting office space. Colleen has been featured in Inc.com's 50 Emerging Global Entrepreneurs to Watch and named one of Forbes' 30 Under 30. She has also been featured on CNBC and Bloomberg News. And while Colleen has her concentration in the tech sector, Anissa Waheed has become a leading figure in the food industry. As the owner of Tara Kitchen here in Schenectady, where we are coming to you live today, it features Moroccan cuisine. Anissa has received a long list of accolades, including being named the #1 restaurant in Schenectady by Yelp and TripAdvisor for 3 years running. The success at the restaurant has led to the creation of the Tara Kitchen line of distinctive jarred sauces that are now available on the Tara website and at select Whole Foods stores throughout the Northeast. And assisting Anissa in her expansion, as well as many other entrepreneurs throughout the region, is the wonderful Catherine Bamberger, the International Trade and Investment Representative for Empire State Development and Global New York. Catherine is responsible for assisting Northeastern New York's manufacturers with both exporting support and attracting foreign firms to establish manufacturing here in New York. From international buyer missions to trade show support to sales and marketing, Catherine is helping grow the customer base for manufacturers here in the region each and every day. Ladies, thank you all so much for joining me today here at Anissa's wonderful restaurant, which if you had smell-o-vision, you would know it is just absolutely unbelievable. It smells so awesome in here today. Thank you all so much for being here. So Anissa, tell me a little bit about how you came to Schenectady and how you opened this restaurant here, this wonderful restaurant.
My family migrated to Schenectady in 1993, so I grew up here. I went to high school and college here, but then in 97 I had moved away to New York City because I actually spent a lot of years working in publishing technology. After I met my husband, and who I met in Morocco, I'm not originally from Morocco, as you can tell by now. I'm from India. I met him in Morocco. We got married there. I spent some time, learning how to cook, those kind of things. And after he immigrated to the U.S., we moved back up to Schenectady to open the restaurant. Not so much open the restaurant, we just kind of moved back up to be closer to family and start some sort of a business. And Schenectady at that time in 2008 was going through a really huge renaissance with the downtown area and what the city and state were trying to do in this space. So we just felt, the time was right.
Why is this area so good for a business or a restaurant?
I think in particular there's a lot of changes, improvements that are being made in Schenectady by the local government, by Metroplex of Schenectady, which is an organization that's really, their entire focus is to build and rebuild Schenectady, bring more businesses down here. For us, on a personal level, of course, we're from here, so it made sense to be here. You know, we know the community, and when we were opening the restaurant, I wasn't necessarily thinking, am I in the busiest and most viable spot for a business? I was more thinking, this is comfortable. Yeah, I know the people, I know the community, my family's here, so we chose to do it, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. We get tons of support from the community. We've certainly managed to create a little mini destination for people outside of Schenectady, so people come out from other regions as well. So it's, it works, and it's really good.
How did the sauce line start?
The sauces started because I make tagines in the restaurant, which are Moroccan stews. People eat them here. They eat it with bread. They eat it with couscous, rice, and then there's actually this really, really, really old guy. He said to me one day when we were first opening up that.
And I'm sorry, this is a tagine right here.
That's
we're
correct.
Looking at.
So it's got the conical shape on top and the little earthen pot. You put it on top, and the steam is what's cooking the food inside. And he said to me, if I could just have the sauce in a jar. That literally was the birth of the idea of, I can jar this. And as customers were asking me for, can you do this? Can we cook this at home? How do you cook Moroccan food? We're the only Moroccan restaurant in the area. They're eating something new. It's different. There's nothing like this in the market space and grocery stores. At the same time, Ben Wallach, who is the marketing director at the Niskuna Food Co-op, also a local grocery store, said to me, if you make it, we'll carry it. So it was really good timing, and I thought, we'll make some jars, we'll do a couple cases, we'll sell it at the co-op, we'll sell some at the restaurant, and but it really took off. People loved it. It took me over a year and a half to create the recipes that could be jarred and that could get FDA approval, that could be preservative-free, natural, still taste good, and I wanted to hit all these things that I wanted you to buy the sauce and then want to buy it again and not say, I tried that and wasn't for me.
And Catherine, I'd like to bring you in on the conversation because you can't just start making sauces in your kitchen, jar it, and sell it out on the street.
Right.
What are the rules?
You can.
You're going to get in a lot of trouble. So.
Right. No, absolutely. The Department of Agriculture and Markets, which is another state agency, works very closely with food producers, and really just to make sure that the product is safe and they look at the scheduled process, which is basically how you make something in bulk, because the recipe changes significantly, or the process can change significantly when you're making it for 4 people versus making enough to bottle and sell in the hundreds. And so there's a whole organization through Cornell Cooperative Extension and Cornell University, which is our land grant university, that helps companies get to that stage. So a lot of companies actually do make it either in a smaller kitchen or maybe even a commercial kitchen, but then there's a whole other step when you go into more mass production. And every step of the way there are programs and services that help support entrepreneurs get to that stage. So a lot of times people will start very similar to Anissa, where they'll start because they'll make it for friends and family, or they'll have a suggestion from a customer, I'd really love to take this home with them, and maybe they market and sell it as 1 or 2 at a time. And then it grows from there, and with the demand, then they have an opportunity to sort of grow that into a business that you either planned or unplanned. Sometimes the best business opportunities come when you're least expecting them, and so it's really nice to be able to offer companies like Anissa's an opportunity to grow, and as we always look to help them grow, because it helps create more jobs.
And Anissa, where did you guys meet in the process along the way? Because we're here you're running this restaurant.
Yeah.
If you're hearing noises in the background, we are in the restaurant. They're cooking
full
like
production.
3 feet away from us. So how did you guys hook up, and what are you guys working on together?
So, like Catherine just said, some of the best opportunities come when you're not looking for them, right? And that's kind of what happened to us. We made a sauce that we wanted to sell in the restaurant that went to Niskuna Food Co-op, and then Whole Foods picked up. Whole Foods carries our product throughout all Manhattan. a buyer from Marks and Spencer in England saw the product there and reached out to me and said, this looks like something we would like to carry in England, and let's start talking. So as I was working with them to figure out how to export my product to England, which we had never ever thought about, or it just blows my mind.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
And that's,
really
that's
is.
the funny part of the story. So we actually had to travel all the way down to New York City to ever meet face to face, despite the fact that our offices are about 10 miles apart.
I know.
Here in the capital region.
Here in the capital region.
Unbelievable.
So as I started to explore the possibility that we could even go international is how I found the Empire State Development's global department, and then I connected with them. I connected with foodexport.org, which is supported by the USDA.
Right.
And that's how we first met, because I was reaching out to these agencies to say, I have some opportunities to export and I don't know how to do it. What can you guys help me with? So they've been a huge part of the education process of learning about what it means to actually export. And I've been working closely with them since October. Yeah, lots of stuff going on.
Well, I want to bring Colleen here in on the situation, on our discussion. You have a fascinating company where you have created a lighting system that kills bacteria. So you put the light in the ceiling in like a hospital room or a restaurant or something along those lines, and it's killing the bacteria. I love this because I'm a germaphobe. So I'm like, when I heard about this, I was like, love it. So that's how I would interpret the company.
Right.
You tell me what it actually does and how it started.
Sure, absolutely. So it started back actually when I was getting my degree at RPI.
RPI, for everyone, is?
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's a local engineering school here in upstate New York. I was getting my degree in biomedical engineering, and we really were taught to focus on real-world health problems that were facing patients and try to come up with solutions. That's really the intention of being a biomedical engineer. And during that time, my grandmother contracted a MRSA infection down where I'm from in Westchester County with a routine stay. She was supposed to be there overnight and ended up being there for significantly longer due to getting this infection within a hospital. And I was 20 years old at the time and sort of naively assumed that people that go into a healthcare facility end up better than when they were when they came in, which isn't necessarily the case. So I decided to delve into a variety of different ways to address.
So what we're looking at right now,
Right.
this is like restaurants?
Right,
or
comparisons of really what the human eye can't see. On the left, for example, any given surfaces. It could be a patient bed, it could be a restaurant surface, it could be a hotel room. And
Hotel room, that's
hotel
a big
room,
one.
yeah, cruise ships, all of these things that are invisible to the human eye, but that unfortunately germs can grow exponentially in these types of environments. So what we really do is we've designed, myself and our team of really talented.
Those are the lights there.
Yep,
I'm sorry,
exactly.
I just want to point them
No,
out.
it's helpful visuals. So that's really what you see in an overhead environment. Intention to be over things like patient beds. And our team of engineers have basically designed LED spectrums that can uniquely target germs. So we're actually affecting molecules that are only in these germs that are not in people. So therefore, you can just, after a retrofit of lighting, you can turn it on, and it's actually reducing the bioburden in these types of environments.
And how did you come up with this? I mean, is this like, we're shaking our heads here because this is I mean, where does it come from?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. I find it really fascinating. It's really a convergence of a lot of different advancements in the industry. I mean, we work with LEDs, of course. So previously, you were working with either incandescence or fluorescence that you excite a gas or a filament and it emits light. LEDs, we can much more precisely tune things now, just the nature of the emission. Additionally, there's been a lot of research around the world on UVC, if you're familiar with ultraviolet, which can also kill. But as of the last decade or so, there's been a lot published on the visible light spectrum. So again, with LEDs, with advancements in microbiology, there's sort of been a convergence to determining new ways to attack these germs. So it was really a lot of background research on our part, and then saying, how can we make this better? What is the real core functions of blue light? It's a blue-violet light that's performing, and we said, well, that's great, but how can we use it more effectively in environments? So if we could create a really specific white light spectrum, it could be used more broadly.
How do you go from idea to to prototype to selling?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's sort of what we learned in the process. I mean, our core founding team was engineers, so between the three of us, mechanical, my co-founder is a mechanical engineer, and our first hire was electrical engineer. We were very skilled in the prototyping process. We knew sort of the engineering aspects of getting to a commercial product, doing a lot of research on what certifications we needed, and then we luckily had started to get a lot of inbound leads given some media that we had, and so those were some of our early adopters in a variety of markets with sort of inbound interest.
Okay, so when you talk about inbound leads, who are you referring to? And so just
Right.
some interest and financially, can you give us a little background on the funding and,
Sure.
and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously, we're a technology company, so we needed to fund the development of the prototyping, certifications, et cetera. So we set out to fundraise, and we raised a Series Seed round from 2 institutional investors, venture fund and angel fund, in 2013 to fund the product development.
It looks like you're in front of the White House right here. And so was this something specific that you were working on?
We were actually at a federal technology showcase that we were invited to, and so we were showcasing in front of a lot of federal agencies which are particularly interested in the technology. I did meet Bill Clinton recently though, but not there.
Okay. I did see one photo. I don't know if we have the photo with Steve Case.
Yes.
What part did he play in?
Yeah, so he was in visiting RPI actually with
here we
Dr.
go.
Jackson. So it was something that Steve Case was visiting RPI, discussing sort of the entrepreneurship community, his role obviously in AOL, and this was something we were showcasing to him just at an event there at RPI. So we have gotten, certainly the idea is appealing to people in general, so we certainly have gotten a good amount of media interest, and that has lent itself, to answer your question, to places outside of hospitals. We do veterinary clinics, we do compound pharmacies. We just got Duke's brand new athletic pavilion, for example, for installation. So UCLA.
The Duke down in Durham?
Yep.
Okay, I'm a Blue Devil.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
excited about that.
Great.
Connections everywhere.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so this was the event at RPI, and so do you still have a connection with Steve Case? Does he check in with you guys?
Not particularly. He has an investment fund, Revolution, but he doesn't really technically, really invest in this particular space. But it was a pleasure to sort of meet him at that event.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, can you believe that this is all going on in the capital region? I mean, you would think that you have to go to Silicon Valley or now Silicon Alley, you have to be in Manhattan.
Yeah.
What is so special about being upstate here?
Sure, I think it is really interesting, and there's a lot of things when you look underneath the surface here that's going on in the capital region that is really certainly fascinating. I'm myself from outside the New York City area, so I get friends that sort of mock me for being in upstate New York, but I actually chose to stay here after graduating RPI because of a lot of support from New York State, particularly for technology companies in this area. We've been heavily funded by NYSERDA. That's been a great partner for us. We also get to be sort of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, that we can actually get things that we need, the resources. We don't get sort of drowned out in Manhattan or Silicon Valley, for example. So that's been incredibly helpful for us. And then the base of engineers at schools like Union, RPI, business students from Siena, UAlbany, all of that, the student base, that's heavily what we recruit. Most of our staff's, under 28.
And Catherine, you really know what is offered here in New York State. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have an idea, where can you start? Where can you begin?
The best place to start is with a business plan, honestly, and that's one of the more frequent areas where people tend to stumble, because again, you get that idea and you sort of start running with it before you actually sit back and think, well, what are we going to do? And maybe you get diverted into different areas. So the best place to start is with a business plan, and there are a lot of resources for that. The SUNY has the Small Business Development Centers, and they have staff there that are ready to help people craft their business and marketing plans. The Chambers of Commerce, local Chambers of Commerce, are also really great resources. There's mentorship programs through New York State. There are minority women business owner certification programs. There's some startup venture capital programs. A lot of the different agencies have various funding programs depending on the type of product or the type of technology that's being developed. So there are really lots of resources. The best thing to do is to network and to ask questions. The most important thing is to ask the questions while you're developing it. So instead of getting sort of partway down the road and saying, oh gee, if only we'd known, or I wish I had done this instead, it would be great if companies would just take a step back and again think about sort of where are you going with this product, or where do you want to go with this product or this venture, and then look at where are the different opportunities for support, for assistance, and for funding. And there really are a lot of different programs.
Something that is very interesting here in New York is the MWBE offerings. What can women business owners specifically, what type of help can they specifically receive?
Well, there's a certification process that a company can go through, and that is part of the Empire State Development Program as well. We do have a lot of programs that sort of do their own thing, and we work really hard to try to integrate them wherever we can. Primarily what that certification can do is it offers you access to both federal and state level programs. There's preferred contracting opportunities. There are a lot of contractors, for example, who are doing buildings that need to subcontract out a certain percentage to minority and women-owned businesses. So, for example, if they contracted for the specialized lighting program, they could count that as toward their percentage of that they're required with the state. So
And
that's a great
Colleen,
opportunity.
I see you shaking your head with that. Is that something that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with certainly with the program. That's absolutely how it works. We've had people call us in relation to being under that certification.
And specifically, I want to talk about being a woman, of course, and in the engineering field. Are you the Lone Ranger? I mean, we're all for women in STEM, and you are just an inspiration. So what have your experiences been?
That's an interesting question. Obviously, we're certainly a minority in terms of women in engineering. It's definitely male focused, but I think RPI does a good job of evening that balance out. At least certainly in my program, there were a lot of other female biomedical engineers, and I'm always on the hunt for more female engineers. I mean, I think obviously the diversity creates great collaboration on our teams. I'd love to see more women in these programs. I particularly myself support, personally, go do a lot of things with Smart Kids program, trying to teach STEM to younger kids. The Girl Scout programs, trying to get young girls really interested in science engineering. That's something I'm pretty passionate about.
Wonderful. And Anissa, I would love to talk a little bit about distribution, because that is just can be a whole mess. Where do you begin with that, and how do you manufacture? Can you give us a little idea so that someone can understand the process?
Catherine touched a little bit on this earlier. When you're cooking something for 4 people versus 100 people versus now 100,000 to maybe more, it really goes, everything changes. It's almost now chemistry and science that rather than a recipe cooking. So that's something that I've learned this past year, and it's been very interesting because we are moving our production from, right now we produce everything in the restaurant. We're going to be moving our production to what's called a co-packer. So these are factories that you share your recipe with. You don't share, you have them sign an NDA.
A non-disclosure agreement.
Right. So you give them and allow use for your purposes. And what they do is it's a built factory, and they're just kind of producing sauce for many different people. So to build an infrastructure like that costs a lot of money. So I necessarily don't need to build my own factory to increase production. I can go to a co-packer. So that's what we have done now in order to increase our distribution through the US as well as through Canada and UK that we're working on right now. So the factory will produce everything, and they'll do large scale, huge volumes, and then a distributor picks it up. So if it's going internationally, then we have what's called a freight forwarder. I'm learning. So
a freight
forwarder.
Forwarder,
There
okay.
are many people who get involved, but I think the big term is freight forwarder, and then they will take it to a ship or truck stop where it needs to go to the foreign country, and then other people will take it from there. Nationally, and we're working on Whole Foods with this, they've been extremely supportive. And would like to see this as a national brand, the Tara Kitchen cooking sauces. So they have connected us to people that they work with or like to work with. So they have distributors who will take our product from Rochester, which is where the co-packer is, and literally truck it across the country. So there's an infrastructure that's set up. And a lot of this is lots of researching, talking to the right people, connecting, making the right connections. There's a ton of information out there, but you have to kind of whittle it down to what makes sense and get the right people involved in doing this.
I always like to keep things positive, but we learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
What would you say was one of your biggest mistakes, and how can someone else learn from it?
I don't make mistakes.
Love it.
Have you met me?
She hasn't met me sooner.
Well, I think that it's not that we don't make mistakes. Obviously, we do, and I don't see them as mistakes. I sort of feel like everything that you do is just a step. It's just another step that you're taking towards the direction you want to go in. So I really don't think of things that I've done as mistakes as much as a learning experience. That's why nothing comes to mind. I'm sure that I've made plenty. But
I guess the biggest challenges.
Yeah, challenges, I can answer that well. Challenges for me are how to balance my family and the growth of the company, be timely about it. We started the restaurant and had 2 babies at the same time. So I have a 3 and a 4-year-old, and the restaurant's only 4 years old. So everything was happening in that same time frame. But I don't think time waits for anybody. And I don't think there's ever the right time to do something. You just have to do it. You have to have the right people in place, and you have to get the right kind of support. Working with these guys is amazing because they do so much work that I would have to be doing. And, I get an email and it's like, oh, wow, I would take 800 hours to do this, but they just help me do all of this in, the 2 weeks that it took them. So it's things like that. So I think challenges are time management. We try very hard to focus on family. Having a relationship with my husband is huge. I like to do that. And, also we want to grow the company and not sort of lose the forward trajectory that we have right now. We have a product that people are liking and doing well, and we want to kind of move forward with that momentum and not lose that steam, so to speak. So that's what we're focusing on.
It's that whole work-life balance, or lack thereof.
Yeah, it really is work-life
Catherine,
balance.
I know you have young children as well. Yeah. So what do you do to make it work?
Absolutely. The state's actually a really great place to be, although the programs have changed over the years. State employees have the option to do a voluntary workforce reduction, where you can exchange hours of work for either salary, or you can rearrange your schedule. There's some flexibility in timing. A lot of it depends. And so when my children were very small, I worked a 30-hour week and was able to then sort of balance our childcare and school needs while they were smaller. Now that they're a little bit older in middle school and having started the job with Empire State Development versus another agency, I'm back to full-time. But the state does allow that kind of flexibility, and I think that's showing leadership in an economy where more and more women are working, and quite frankly, the school schedules don't necessarily match with work schedules. The pressure on women to have it all and do it all is immense and enormous.
And look good.
Absolutely, and the more that we can do to support each other, to ask for help, to not feel like we have to do it all ourselves, is really where we need to be, sort of as a culture and as a society, and as a band of women, quite frankly. Being able to meet entrepreneurs and being able to mentor students and younger workers in the workforce and be able to help them achieve that kind of balance and promote that as a value and as a goal as a society is really only going to benefit all of us, both as an economy and as a culture going forward.
Absolutely, and that's why we're here today, is to answer those questions, to have that discussion. Colleen, some final thoughts from you about women in the workplace and what you hope for your company?
Yeah, sure. Well, I hope our company plays a similar role, in the sense of creating a culture for women that is supportive of all of these obstacles that are really in the workplace for women that, maybe men don't face as much. So I think that we're excited to be in the Capital Region, growing quickly. I'd love to find some more females to work with us, and
Yeah, I think you're going to have a little extra work. I think Colleen's going to be on your case.
Yeah, we were just talking. Yes, exactly.
I'm looking forward to it.
Plenty of international
this week. Well, ladies, thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been an absolutely phenomenal discussion, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. And you all do different things, but you have such a wonderful spirit that it's just wonderful for women everywhere.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. For more information on any of the amazing women you've seen here today or New York State programs to help entrepreneurs, simply go to the Working Woman Report website, workingwomanreport.com. Check out our Facebook page or tweet us. We are always happy to help. Our thinking here at the Working Woman Report is that with the right attitude, anything is possible. We hope you agree. Thank you again. See you next time from somewhere on the road.